Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be asking the question, what should you buy first when on a budget for Star Wars Legion if you're playing the Empire? So I'm going to be covering the Imperial faction today, what to buy first, buyer's guide for everything that I think is going to give you the best value in terms of a blend of things that are cool, things that are helpful, things that are going to give you tremendous value. To really kind of help the player who's on a budget. If you are new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe for more Legion content. I also run giveaways all the time. There happens to be one going on right now for a $25 Amazon gift card. And to enter any of those giveaways, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. So without too much more delay, I am going to get started. Also, let me let you guys know that at the end of the video, I'm also going to be doing a little extra session of bundles, which are going to help talk about certain things that kind of work together a little bit better, because this was actually a Patreon suggestion. Patreon wanted me to kind of incorporate some of things that maybe you wouldn't buy, maybe you wouldn't buy something first or last, but certain things kind of work together, and how are things commonly seen. So there's going to be a couple of like bundle ideas as well towards the end of the video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So for Star Wars Legion, if you're starting out, the first thing you have to get is a Corset, right? Now, there are two different types of Corsets as of right now. There is a original Corset, which features Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. It's the Empire's primer versus the Rebels primer. So this one is going to have both Rebels and Empire in it. If you have a friend who's also interested in playing and is interested in playing Rebels, maybe you can split the Corset with them. It's $100. It's really a tremendous value for what you're really getting. But keep in mind, you're going to get some Rebels with this. It's still a good value, even if you're stuck with all the Rebels. Hey, and it's not a terrible thing, because you can always also play Rebels. And it also makes for a good learn-to-play box. Now, the Corset is not enough to play a full-blown game, because you're going to need more than just one. So I would definitely suggest for your second buy, getting another Corset, because, hey, extra Corsets are great. And they're just fantastic. So definitely suggest getting extra Corsets. The value of the number of different expansions that you get in each Corset, as well as all of the extra tools and dice and all the things that you're going to get in your second Corset, are easily going to outweigh the value of buying them individually. The extra Stormtroopers, the extra speeder bikes, the extra dice, the extra plastic templates, all of this extra stuff is going to be helpful. Even the extra barricades when you're starting out can be very, very helpful. So I really suggest, honestly, when the game first launched, a lot of people would say get 3 Corsets. I used to say get 3 Corsets. Now I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit, because most people don't want to run all Stormtroopers. And if you get 3 Corsets, you're going to have enough to run all Stormtroopers, and that was a little bit more of a thing in the early days of Star Wars Legion, but nowadays people don't necessarily run quite that many. You probably could get by with only 1 Corset and then buying other expansions as well, but still, that second Corset is a tremendous value, plus you're getting a lot of other things that are really important. Range tools, extra movement tools, extra dice, all of that extra stuff really kind of helps put the value of the Corset over the top. Plus, it's an extra box for you to store stuff in, and a lot of people starting out can really also benefit from having an extra box just to put things in. Once you become more of an experienced player and a veteran player, you're probably going to work out some type of travel solution with plastic cases, tackle boxes, magnetizing your minis, all kinds of stuff like that. But you need at least 1 Corset. It is a good value to get a second one too, in case you screw up painting your Darth Vader, you have another one in the other Corset. So definitely the value is there, and it's doubly good if you can find a friend to split stuff with. Next up, I'm going to put the caveat out there for anything that comes out after this video. We know that Iden Versio is coming out, so but we haven't had a full preview on Iden Versio yet. But generally, stuff that's brand new tends to also be really desirable, and it usually either fixes something that was kind of lacking for this faction at the point of a release, or just tends to be really new and wow. And based on what we do know about Iden Versio right now, she looks really cool. So I can't say she's an absolute must-buy second, and this goes for anything else that comes out, whether it be Inferno Squad or something else down the line. This type of stuff is probably going to be pretty cool, so I would suggest checking it out. And you can even ask me in the comments if it's already out, but as of right now, in February of 2020, don't really know a whole lot about Iden Versio or anything that comes out after Iden Versio, but probably going to be pretty good. All right, so next on what things I think you should buy. My first buy after all of that, mostly the Corset, Imperial Shore Troopers. Right now, they are amazing. One of the best units in the game. And what really put this unit over the top and to be like absolute top tier must buy is the fact that you're actually getting 2 units in this box. So not only is it great gameplay-wise, it's also great value-wise because you're going to be able to fill out 2 core units based on what's in here. You're going to get the Shore Trooper unit, and you're also going to get that Mortar unit. And that is 2 activations. It's 2 core units as far as army building is concerned. If you've just got a core set and you're only going to have 2 Stormtroopers, you need at least 3 core units. Well, this can get you up to 4 core units. Now, if you've bought 2 core sets, the 2 in here will actually bring you all the way up to 6 core units, which is currently the cap. So this is just a tremendous value. Now, a lot of people are running lots of Shore Troopers, so at least pick up 1. They have also indicated that Shore Troopers may be receiving some type of nerf or some kind of adjustments or balance changes in the not too distant future. So this is February 2020. Right now, these guys are amazing. They may get an adjustment in quality, in balance. Maybe they need it. I don't know. But some people would say they probably do. They're really, really good right now, especially with their heavy weapon having range 4. I think even if he were to get changed or the price were to be adjusted a little bit, they'd still be a really good unit. And despite how strong they are, it's still a great buy because you need at least 3 core units in your build. They're a solid unit, and you're getting 2 core units in 1 box. So just great value altogether. Plus, if you're a fan of Rogue One, they're the Shore Troopers. They're super cool, right? So definitely Shore Troopers. Next up, Director Krennic. So one of the things that's great about getting your first additional commander, because if you have the core set, all you have is Darth Vader as your commander. Well, Darth Vader is really expensive, so if you get another commander, especially one that's much cheaper than Darth Vader, it gives you a tremendous ability to change out how you want to build a list. I mean, you can also run 2 commanders if you want to, but usually a lot of people run a single commander. You have the options, so you can do one or the other. And, Krennic is a much cheaper commander than Darth Vader, but also a very, very powerful commander as far as gameplay impact. He's got tremendous ability, and as that leader, he's not quite the warrior that Vader is, but he offers a drastically different playstyle than Vader, and it gives you a way to kind of build a list that will be very, very different. And also, commander packs or any single miniature packs are very, very cheap. So he's super cheap, and he's going to give you a huge amount of wiggle room with how you'd like to build your list. Next are Imperial Death Troopers. Imperial Death Troopers are incredible. They are a special forces unit that is one of the most powerful units in the game. Death Troopers are absolutely bonkers, and on top of that, they work very, very well with Director Krennic. He is, so that's one reason I have him close to them. And this is kind of one of those bundle things. But I mean, I'll come back to them later on. But Imperial Death Troopers, tremendously strong unit, very expensive too. One of the things that makes a very expensive unit nice is that if you are trying to fill out your unit to an 800-point list, and maybe you've only bought 1 core set, you might struggle a little bit trying to fill up your points to get to 800 points when you're still learning the game. Death Troopers have the capability to be a very, very expensive unit, and not only but not a waste of points. They're actually a really effective, great unit on top of that. So Death Troopers, all the way, they're just excellent, and even just a single unit of Death Troopers makes for an excellent addition to most Imperial armies. I absolutely love the Death Troopers. Next up, the Scout Troopers. Now, Scout Troopers, is the first Special Forces expansion that we saw in Star Wars Legion for the Empire. And this one, a lot of people might rank this one a little bit higher than the Death Troopers, and I certainly understand that. But I think, at least in the case of the Death Troopers, again, part of this is my opinion because, there's not a definitive list of what you absolutely must get first. So I have to put some of my own bias in there. And I personally like the Death Troopers more. But I think the Scout Troopers are kind of right about there. You don't necessarily have to get Death Troopers and Scout Troopers. You could do one or the other. But Death Troopers are more powerful of a unit. And that's certainly cool. And they work better with Critic. But Scout Troopers, on the other hand, are tremendous value. And the reason why you're getting great value out of Scout Troopers is you are getting this is another box that basically gives you 2 different units. You can run them a lot of different ways. You can run them as a full unit that's basically empty. You can run them as a full unit with a heavy weapon that's a saboteur. You can run them as a full unit with a heavy weapon that's a sniper. You can also run a strike team, which is a smaller version of a unit with just a sniper or just a saboteur as the leader. So you can run them at the same time. So you can run a full unit with a saboteur and then a strike team that's a sniper. And so you can use both of your heavy weapons with the 2 different unit cards that come there. So you're actually getting 2 different Special Forces units in this pack, and that actually makes them a tremendous value. Scout Troopers are also kind of in demand right now because snipers are so popular. Snipers are very, very, very popular right now, and they have been nerfed. They had their range changed last year to be reduced from infinite down to range 5, which is also another one of those reasons why you might want to consider a second Corset, or if you don't get a Corset, at least get some of the extra plastic expansions like an extra range tool, because the 3 or the four pieces of range tool aren't always going to be enough. Of course, you can always borrow one from your opponent. Next up, a different individual commander, General Veers. General Veers was, I think, the first extra commander to come out for Star Wars Legion. He was really good. He's also, I think, the cheapest commander for Legion that's actually a unique, the cheapest named commander for the Empire. And General Veers is awesome. He tends to work well in a list that's using vehicles. And since you get speeder bikes in the Corset, you have some vehicles already. He is also very cheap. So I kind of like what I talked about with Critic before. Gives you different list building options. Frees up a lot more points for other more expensive things, which is also a nice idea to use when you are looking at vehicles. Let's talk about Operatives. Well, Bosk is very, very popular. Now, as you're getting deeper into the game, you're getting a little bit more comfortable with the game. You can start looking at, hey, let's try a bounty hunter. All right, bounty hunters in this game offer an interesting alternative win condition because you can be tied with your opponent, but if you get a bounty and you kill their commander with your bounty hunter, you can get that extra victory point that puts you over the top. So that adds a different dynamic to the game. And despite just being that, Bosk also is just a range 4 threat. He is a long range dude, and he's got some interesting command cards. He can drop this Dioxis grenade that poisons people. That's also very, very nasty. And Bosk is also extremely popular right now as well. He's just a very effective operative to have in your list. And one thing a lot of Imperial players are doing very strongly right now is this range 4 threat, and Bosk helps contribute to that. And range 4 is longer than most. The most common range is range 3, and the Empire likes stuff that kind of has an advantage of range on everybody else, and Bosk is very good for that as well. Next up is the Imperial Specialists expansion pack. This is a personnel expansion. This is just a great kit. You may want even to get multiples of these. One of the things that's great about this kit is that it offers personnel units, 4 different personnel miniatures. And these different personnel miniatures can go into any unit that can take personnel. At present, that's pretty much just core units. But that means this can upgrade any of your core units. It can upgrade anything from your Stormtroopers all the way to your Shore Troopers. And it's nice because they're all static point adjustments. So it's not like it becomes more expensive when it goes into a shore trooper versus when it's with the stormtrooper. So a lot of times people will put the expensive Imperial specialists in with their shore troopers because they get basically it's almost like a discount on it by proxy. But you're getting an astromech, you're getting a medic. The medic is really nice. You're also getting a comms tech that's going to let you be able to take comms. And you're also getting a leader. And the leader can also function as the cheapest bare bones generic commander. So if you have like all these expensive units and you're rocking like multiple death troopers and vehicles and stuff, and you're like, oh, I don't have 90 or 100 points for a commander. Well, if you've got 50 points, then you can get the generic Imperial officer as your commander, and that's an alternate use for that particular miniature. But the Imperial Specialists pack is awesome, very, very important one. And what I like about this one too is that it augments your existing stuff. So buying this makes other units better. Your 2 Stormtroopers from the Corset, one can now have a medic, one can now have a leader that has inspiring help. All of that. That's just really cool stuff. Speaking of upgrades, the Imperial Stormtrooper upgrade expansion would be the next one. This one is new. This one just recently came out and adds some new options for your Stormtroopers. This one, again, it's upgrading what you already have. It comes with 4 totally awesome Stormtrooper sculpts, and they all have that pauldron. They basically all look like they're straight off of Episode 4 at Mos Eisley Spaceport. They are a better sculpts than your existing Stormtroopers. And this is where something like this is a point where like some players who really, really like these sculpts might be tempted to just buy a whole bunch of these and completely replace all of their Stormtrooper minis with these because they're gorgeous. As this game has aged, the sculpting quality has improved and improved over time. And so with these that just come out like over 2 years later than the original Stormtroopers, is really nice to be able to hold them and say, wow, these look even better than the original Stormtroopers. So that is really cool. I'm a big fan of the sculpts. But despite just the sculpts, you're getting 2 new personnel options and 2 new heavy weapons options. But these are restricted to the Stormtroopers only. So these will not go in any other core unit. So they're only for the Stormtrooper upgrade. So that's kind of why I put the other one above them, because they're more flexible. This one only upgrades your Stormtroopers, but it's still a good buy because, hey, if you're an Imperial player, you have at least 2 Stormtroopers. Right, so this just gives you new builds, and there's some pretty good ones. There's one I really like in here that gives them a range 4 with a red and 3 white dice, and I'm just a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that particular heavy weapon. But yeah, there's good ways to change the way you're building your army with this. Next up, we're gonna go with the Dewbacks. Dewbacks are kind of a fun one to talk about because there was a big delay with us actually getting Dewbacks fully released in I think they came out in December, or was it November, but of 2019. But they were delayed quite a bit because of a base issue, which was called the debacle. But now that they're out, people are starting to use them more. They're a lot of fun. They have great synergy with certain types of command cards and certain types of they can work well with Palpatine and with Vader depending on how they're used, or they can work well just on their own. They have a lot of different configuration options. They have a lot of different weapon options. You can run them without any special weapons and just kind of run them as a little dinosaur that wants to come chomp chomp chomp. But they're not too bad. They are not too bad, and I like them. You don't really need the extra, like we're getting to the point in the stuff where it's like, is this extra stuff? Like hopefully you've played with all the stuff you've got already. Because they're a support, and you've already got a speeder bike, all right? You've already got, maybe if you buy multiple Corsets, maybe you've got multiple speeder bikes. So you didn't really need another support just yet, but maybe you did. And these are going to play very, very different than the speeder bike. They're also, it's the first creature trooper for the Empire, so it's going to have some different rules. So a little bit more advanced, not for somebody just starting out. So that's why this is kind of in the middle of my list. Next up is the first heavy I am adding, and this is the TX-225 Gav tank. This thing is beautiful. It's another thing straight out of Rogue One, and the tank is actually very, very effective. It has pretty good firepower, but unlike some other expensive heavy vehicles, this one has an additional purpose of actually being able to transport a unit that can start out on it, or it can embark on it and then disembark. Now, this has a lot of applications for the Empire. Snowtroopers are real slow. They can get on this thing and then get off of it and get into the battle a little bit easier. But also, certain really slow, important people like Darth Vader can start out on this and then basically get a leaping start right into the middle of the battlefield this way, which is really nice. So yeah, I like the fact that it's a respectable, strong, heavy vehicle, but it also has this transport capability, which is super cool. So big fan of the TX-225 Gav tank. It's not cheap though. This is you're spending over $50 on something like this, depending on where you get it. You might be able to get it for cheaper than that, but if you catch a good sale. But you're spending a lot of money for one unit, but it's very pretty. Next, we're going to talk about not an actual unit, but something that as a player, by this point, maybe you're thinking about playing competitively, and it's important that you have all of the cards that are available, all of the battle cards. Now, the Priority Supplies expansion is the first of one of these battlefield expansions that they've added. They've added quite a few battlefield expansions. Basically, it's their way of adding terrain to the game, so you can buy Fantasy Flight's terrain. And this is going to be some, consoles, crates, moisture evaporators, things like that. All of that stuff is fine and good. It's not something that you need to have, but what's in this pack that's really important is some new cards. You're going to have different objective deployment and condition cards in here, and those are going to be really important because it changes the way that you are able to kind of build your deck of cards that you bring into the game. This is something that is more important for more competitive players. So hopefully, like by this point in the list, you've been playing a little bit now, and you say, okay, now I this, you know what? Every time we do breakthrough, it kills me. So I want to take that one out. Now I've got a new card to put in. So you can do something like that. And that's one of the things that actually makes this one pretty cool. And I mean, the terrain's cool, but you don't really need the terrain. Same thing with vital assets. Now, as of this moment, this particular pack is also not out yet, or not even fully spoiled. But one of the things that we do know about the vital assets battlefield expansion is that it's adding more cards, more condition deployment, and objective cards. Again, the more cards you have, the more competitively you can build the deck of cards you bring to the game and try to control the type of game that you're going to play. And on top of that, if your game ever starts to get stale, adding more cards like this is going to really increase your enjoyment, because you're going to have whole different deployments. Oh, whoa, we're playing a whole different type of objective now. So adding new objectives to the game is also really, really cool once you have gotten very comfortable with the game. All right, and some people may disagree on where I am putting those. Some people might say these are closer to the end. I don't necessarily think so, because I don't think everybody's going to buy everything before they then try to get competitive. All right, so next up is Emperor Palpatine. Yes, Palpatine is incredibly strong. He is the most expensive unit in the game. He is the baddest dude on the block. And at the same time, he's also really slow and hard to get where he needs to go. I think Palpatine, while he's incredible, is probably more of an advanced commander. I think playing him to have much more success with him, it helps if you're a lot more experienced with the game. I think he also takes a lot of practice to master. Granted, if you say, hey, no, I want Palpatine right away, that's why I started playing Legion, then by all means, pick him up and give him a shot. These are only my opinions, but so in this game should be fun to you. So I mean, some people play more for fun, some people play more for competitive side. So if you're playing for fun, you want Palpatine right away. He's one of the more difficult commanders to kind of master, but if you like him, go for him. But I think he's probably somebody you probably want to learn the game a little bit more and eventually move on to someone like Palpatine. But if you can master him, he's a beast. Speaking of Palpatine, he's got Royal Guards that are going to work well with him. They came out at the same time as well, and the Royal Guards are pretty good. They are pretty good. They're a melee unit, and while that isn't always, I mean, they can shoot also, but they're, while that isn't always the Empire's strength, you know, as far as melee is concerned, because they got Darth Vader for that sort of thing, they also can protect other units. And they're nice. Palpatine seems to like them. A lot of other weaker units seem to like them. Actually, oddly enough, Scout Troopers kind of like them as well. Although Scout Troopers usually aren't close enough to them. But the Royal Guards are cool. Also, if you're painting everything, like, canonically, they're going to look really cool on your battlefield because you're going to have all this black and white and white and white and black and white and white, and then all of a sudden the red Royal Guard. They can look pretty cool on your battlefield too. But there's all kinds of alternate paint schemes for the Royal Guards as well. Moving on, one of the most beautiful expansions ever to grace my tabletop, the ATST. This thing came out when the game launched. It was part of Wave 1 for this game, and it's gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's just, I don't know if it's that good, and I say that with a question mark. It's had some slight adjustments for, you know, and it is potentially good. And again, but it's also expensive. It's expensive in two different ways, right? It's an expensive kit to buy. The expansion itself, very expensive expansion. I think it's like 50 something, right? But on top of that, it uses a lot of points. It takes up a lot of points in your army. So, you know, I don't know if it's the best value, but fun factor, very high with this one, very high. To use an ATST like competitively, like might take, you know, a greater mastery of the game. They're not seen that commonly at the competitive scene. Again, nothing wrong with just, you know, having this be your first buy. It was certainly one of the first things I bought for the game. Of course, that's because I started the day of the game launched. But yeah, the ATST, absolutely gorgeous. Definitely suggest it, you know, whenever you feel up to it. But if you're on a budget, it may not necessarily need to be one of the first things you buy. Unless, of course, you just love beautiful, beautiful minis, because it's gorgeous. It's really, really pretty. Boba Fett. Boba Fett is the other bounty hunter currently in the game for the Empire. Boba Fett's cool. He's a Mando. He's a Mando in this game, and that means he's got the ability to jump because he's got a jetpack, so he can maneuver over terrain. He's speed 3, super maneuverable. I don't really think of Boba Fett. I think of somebody who's super maneuverable, but he gets the job done. He's great for objective play. He's got the bounty keyword. Just sometimes it's a lot harder to actually kill somebody with that bounty keyword. And he's not cheap either. He doesn't have the range that Bosk has, and some of his, you know, the command cards that he has aren't all that great. You know, and I think, you know, if you're looking for a bounty hunter, I feel like right now Bosk is probably a much better option. But again, if you just think Boba Fett is cool and you want to have him on your battlefield, by all means, go for Boba Fett, because he is cool. He's a great miniature. He's cool. He's got this little flight stand. He's awesome, right? But in the game, he's maybe not the most competitive guy. You know, he's somebody that doesn't see that many games, doesn't grace that many tabletops in Star Wars Legion, and a lot of that has to do with that. I think maybe he might have been pretty good at one point, but other things have kind of come in and done a better job than he does. Primarily, I think it's his command cards aren't all that great. But then again, that can always change. There can be something new that comes out a couple months from now that his command cards now work really, really well against. So he might be like one of your first buys next year. You know. So again, I preface all of this with, if you really like it, then absolutely go for it. Next up is the E-Web Heavy Blaster team. The E-Web is one of those units that I don't ever put on my tabletop. Really. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's just, I'm not a big fan of the E-Web. It actually got some balance changes that make it slightly improved, which is good. It's just a unit I haven't really desired to go back to. But it's iconic. It's especially good if you are building like a Hoth-themed list. You know, if you're doing a lot of like cold weather stuff like Veers and Snowtroopers and things like that. The E-Web can be fun, and it does have a little bit of synergy with Shore Troopers, so that's also worth noting. It's all right. I just feel like it's not the best unit. There are great applications for it. It's actually not a terrible unit, but new players probably won't be able to employ an E-Web as well as a veteran player would. So I put this one kind of lower on the list. Next is actually a great expansion. I don't think it needs to be one of the first things you buy. And that's Darth Vader, the Operative expansion. This is, it may look familiar because you've already got Darth Vader in your core set. The difference here is you have Darth Vader as a commander in your core set. And this is Darth Vader as an operative. So he's going to have a whole different role. If you run Darth Vader as an operative, you still need to have a commander. So running him kind of has the tax of I need to have at least a generic officer, if not somebody more expensive than that. But it gives you a different way to field Vader. He comes with three different Vader command cards, which can be used interchangeably. Any version of Vader can use any version of Vader's command cards, which is kind of cool. But so like from a certain point of view, he could empower your Commander Vader, which is a nice option. But the problem is you're getting less and less value from this if you are on a budget, because you already have a Darth Vader. So like at this point you're buying doubles, right? And that might not be, at the top of everybody's list. Now, I'll point out that he is an alternate sculpt, and his unit, he functions differently than Commander Vader. And thematically, Commander Vader is Darth Vader as we see him in the films. He's like when he's fighting Obi-Wan, or when you see him dueling Luke Skywalker in the Emperor's throne room. Like he's like an older man. He's fully embraced in the dark side, totally committed to Palpatine, right? Like super evil dude. This is a slightly different, a younger Darth Vader, right? Younger Darth Vader in his early 30s, when he is, I don't really know exactly how, maybe, when he's going around hunting Jedi. This is before A New Hope. This is when Luke Skywalker is just a little kid and Vader doesn't even know he has a son, and he is, eliminating Jedi and doing stuff in between episodes 3 and 4. This is the young Vader, as Palpatine's, new right hand Sith. So that is, that's the idea, the difference between them, where Palpatine's just sending Vader out, go, I have news that there is a Jedi on this planet, go kill him. That sort of thing. So he's functionally different. Next, we're getting kind of lower on the list. A unit that I happen to love, one of my favorite units in the game. At least that it used to be. It's not so much anymore, but that's the Snowtroopers. Snowtroopers was the second core option to come out for the Empire, and while I think they're beautiful, they're good sculpts and they're super cool, they're really slow, and they don't have that range 4 option, and they're now like the only core unit that doesn't really have a range 4 option. And the Snowtroopers, they work best at close range, because they have this flamethrower guy that's super awesome, but you got to be in range 1. And right now, like with all the super long range options, it's almost impossible to get your Snowtroopers into range 1 of an enemy. So like competitively, it's really tough decision to try and bring Snowtroopers in. Now, that may change at some point. There may be some new heavy weapon options that come out for Snowtroopers. There may be some new upgrades that increase their speed a little bit. A lot of people are thinking, well, boy, what if Snowtroopers get Spur or something like that someday? Really cool option. Snowtroopers have the potential to be great, but right now, mechanically, they kind of struggle in Star Wars Legion. And we're getting kind of closer to the bottom here, and we got Stormtroopers. It's the Stormtrooper expansion. I don't think you need the Stormtrooper expansion, right? You've already got a core set. You already got 2. You probably got some other core. Maybe if you got 2 cores, there's really the only reason to buy this. Well, there's maybe 2 reasons. Like when you first, I think impact grenades came in this, or there was an upgrade that came in this that wasn't in the core set, but it was also in the Snowtroopers. So, it wasn't even exclusive to only this box. So if you just needed to have every card, right away, then that was one reason to have bought this years ago. The other reason might just be if maybe you screwed up your paint job on your Stormtroopers, or you just, maybe for dioramas or for role-playing games or something, you just want extra Stormtrooper miniatures. Then you can maybe pick this up, but it really doesn't add a whole lot just to have extra Stormtroopers if you want a lot of Stormtroopers, buying extra an extra Corset gets you 2 full units of Stormtroopers, plus another speeder bike, plus extra dice, plus Vader, plus all the Rebel stuff that you can either keep or trade, and then also focus on a Rebel army. It's just the value for a Corset is so great that actually buying, a Stormtrooper expansion for like $25 is just, it's not a good value at all. So I don't usually recommend that. And the same goes for the 74Z speeder bikes. And it's probably even worse for them because there's, I think there's better, other better units out there. Maybe flip-flop the speeder bikes and the snowtroopers, because at least in the 74Z speeder bike expansion, you're getting an alternate sculpt for one of the guys who's like leaning forward a little bit more. So, if your miniature like leaning forward a little bit more, if this is a big deal to you, then then maybe there's a reason to get these. But I bought 3 Corsets when the game came out, and I had no reason to buy anything else. But I did it just for the unboxing purposes. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of reason to get extra speeder bikes. I mean, unless you want to run triple bikes, but there's so many other support units that could take the place of this, especially with Dewbacks, being pretty fun. I just don't recommend this if you're on a budget. Definitely don't. Okay, so that is all of the expansions. I mean, there's a couple other little things like like the dice packs and things like that. But if you're getting a second Corset, I'm not really going to talk about all of that. Anything else that really gets announced after this video, I would you'll just have to either hopefully you're subscribed and check back, and hopefully I'll update this series of videos, and let me know if you would like that in the future. If you're watching this far away, like, hey, I'd love an update. How do we stand in 2021? I may already be working on an update to the video. But there is also certain bundles, right? So as far as bundles, first I want to start out talking about Scout Troopers. If you are thinking about being pretty competitive in this game, one thing that a lot of people will do is they'll buy 3 units of Scout Troopers. And that's one reason that these are actually kind of sold out in a lot of places. As of the time I'm recording this, they're kind of hard to find right now. Hopefully they get reprinted soon. But people like to run triple sniper. Basically 3 sniper strike teams. And even though you're getting 2 units in here, if you want to run a sniper strike team, you're only going to be able to run 1 sniper strike team, because there's only 1 sniper mini and 1 sniper card in here. So if you want to run 3 sniper strike teams, which is very, very popular, like almost too popular, then you'll need to get 3 of these, or borrow them too. You can always borrow from a friend if you've only got 2 and they've got 1 or something like that. But yeah, I think those go together. So and that's more of a competitive thing. I will say this though, if you're playing casual games, you might not want to go with triple snipers. A lot of people don't like that. There are a lot of people that really hate snipers because their range is so much farther, and usually the opponent can't shoot you back. So it's not really fun for your opponent to keep getting shot when they can't do anything in return. So people tend to not like that gameplay aspect as much. And if you're maximizing on that particular aspect, you might lose some friends, right? But it works very well in a tournament setting. But if you're only playing casually, you might not need triple snipers. So you might not need quite that much. Next, there are certain things with Critic that work really well together, and I'm going to call it the Imperial gun line right now, which is usually having Critic as a commander, having a couple of shore troopers, and usually at least, and a lot of times a death trooper, because death troopers can shoot at range 4, and Critic works really well at those ranges. The shore troopers, a lot of times people are running 3 shore troopers and then 3 mortars, or maybe 2 and 2, and then some kind of combination in there. Usually at least 2 shore troopers, Critic, and at least 1 death trooper is very, very common. And so those kind of all go together. Now, those were actually already placed kind of in close proximity anyway, but those do work together quite well. Palp is very, very popular. Palpatine with Royal Guards, at least a single unit of Royal Guard, very, very popular right now. I bought 3 units of Royal Guards when Palpatine first came out, and I think that was probably a bit too much. But one of the things that also goes with Palp and Royal Guard is having a couple of medics. A couple of medics is really, really good. Like 1 or 2 at least. Probably 2 is pretty good. And so usually those are just on a regular regular Stormtrooper unit, because that's the kind of the cheapest way to just put 1 medic out there. And of course, you're going to get those medics in the Imperial Specialists pack. So maybe 2 Specialists pack, a Royal Guard pack, and Palpatine, so then you can have maybe 2 Stormtroopers with medics, and then other units. The Shore Troopers are probably very common in that type of build, but Palp works really well. Palpatine, and the reason for that is Palpatine is all about, for most regards, he's all about his 1 pip command card, which lets him just shoot Force Lightning over and over and over and over and over again. Which is, and I'm not exaggerating. He can just take a wound for a free attack, and it doesn't count as his only attack of the turn. So he can keep, he can attack, or he can move, attack as normal, and then take 4 more wounds to attack 4 more times. Now, the thing about that is, the whole reason why those all work well together is because Royal Guards will defend for Palpatine. So if you're trying to shoot him, the idea is the way to stop Palpatine from shocking you over and over again is to get some wounds on, to get some damage on him. And so if you've got Royal Guards that are protecting him from damage, and then any damage that does happen to get through, you have your medics heal, you're going to preserve his ability to pull off that Death Blossom, usually on one of the last rounds, because when he does that, that usually is the breaking point for a game. So that's why medics and Royal Guard work well with Palpatine, and that's why you might want to take a deep breath if that's what you're facing on the other end of the table. And I think that's it. The last thing I do want to mention also, ATSTs, very, very popular with Veers. Same thing with the Gav tank. Veers, because he's a vehicle-based commander. General Veers is a nice option if you are... if you really want the ATST first, I'd say Veers is a great commander to bring along with that. I used to run Veers and double ATST. I used to run 2 ATSTs with Veers at the same time because he can hand out 2 AIM tokens. And, the ATSTs do kind of struggle a little bit with their lack of offensive surge. And, even an AIM will sometimes not be enough. So, or if you get the tank and the ATST, now the tank has the Imperial Hammers pilot, so then that can go into ATST and give you a surge to hit, which is super, super great. And then in Veers as your commander, now you've got surge to hit and an aim, so then you can even move if you need to, and then shoot. Just really cool stuff. So I like Veers with the tank and the ATST. That's another kind of little bundle if you want to have some fun. And I think that is about it, guys. So let me know if I missed anything or what you guys think of my list and my rundown. And that is what to buy first for the Empire. Stay tuned for more what to buy firsts when on a budget. I'll probably be doing the Rebellion next, but we've got even more factions this year to talk about. We've also got the Separatists and the Clones. So I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think down in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button. Ring that bell if you want to be notified when more videos come out. And if you're interested in checking me out on social media or supporting the channel, check the links in the description below. You can find Patreon on there, as well as Twitter, Facebook, t-shirt shops, all kinds of stuff like that. I want to thank my patrons so much. You guys are amazing and help make this all possible. Thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.